Welcome to Atlanta Community Profiles, a show about living in Atlanta and purchasing a home here. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and residential real estate experts. Now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta and also by Chambers of Commerce. They're called Atlanta Community Profiles magazines. We have one for the metro area. We have one for Gwinnett County, published in conjunction with the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, one for North Fulton in conjunction with the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, one for Cobb County, which is published in conjunction with the Cobb Association of Realtors, and one for Inside 285, distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. I'm a realtor also with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties, and I specialize primarily in commercial properties, but I'm more than happy to help you with residential as well. My website for the magazines is atlantacommunityprofiles.com, and the website for the real estate end is just plain louwhelan.com. So basically every week we interview community leaders, people who are contributing to the show, to the city, and obviously to the show as well. And today we have two very distinguished guests, Michael Davis, and also welcome back, Michael.
Thank you.
And Samir Abdullahi. Samir,
you got it.
Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
And both of you guys have been on the show, and appreciate it. And when Samir was on the show last time, he was wearing a different hat at the city of Alpharetta.
I was 2 weeks on the job.
Pardon?
I was 2 weeks on the job.
2 weeks?
Yeah, I learned the city quickly.
Yeah, well, you had some good experience because before that you were over at Partnership Gwinnett, and Gwinnett County's the public partnership over there. So not exactly a new kid to that field. So,
but still a millennial.
Still a millennial.
That's a fun fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's hard to communicate with you guys sometimes because of the age difference.
You can just text me.
Texting, okay. I do know how to do that. Actually, it's not that easy, but I'm pretty good at that, at least. Samir's title is Deputy Director of Select Fulton, Fulton County's Economic Development Initiative. In this role, Samir manages both the Economic Development Projects team in addition to the Workforce Development Division of Fulton County. His roles include recruiting new jobs and capital investment to the county, preparing incentive packages, and directing Fulton County's $3.2 million Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding. He graduated from the University of Georgia, which we won't hold that against him. He holds a bachelor's degree in international relations. He has a master's in public policy from Georgia State's Andrew Young School of Public Policy Studies, where he frequently lectures on economic development policy. So basically our next guest is, of course, Michael Davis, and his title is Executive Director of Connect South Fulton, and it's a public-private partnership with the member cities in that area to position South Fulton region as a premier choice for capital investment. And he'll talk a little bit about that entity, and he did talk about it earlier. He was on the show in December. That show is on my website if you would like to learn more about that. So Mike is a graduate of the University of Georgia also. He holds a BBA in Management Information Systems. He also holds an executive MBA from Emory Consuela Business School. So,
well, as for the Emory folks, that's Goizueta Business School.
Emory Consuela. What did I say?
Goizueta.
Consuela?
He was a former president of Coca-Cola.
Okay. Emory Consuela. Well, we got it down. Thank you, sir. So, welcome back to the show, and we'd love to learn more about your roles at your respective areas. But today, the focus, the focus is going to be on South Fulton, but we want to just talk a little bit about the Fulton County as a map from a macro standpoint briefly. And population is 1,016 municipalities. Is that right, or 17?
15.
15.
15, 1-5.
Okay, 15. 534 square miles. And so you have, what else would you like to say from a macro profile standpoint, Samir, since you are obviously an expert in the county in total?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been trying to do at Fulton County from a kind of a communications and marketing standpoint, and a little bit of a, lobbying, I think, as well, is orienting Fulton County in the Metro Atlanta sphere. And when I say the Metro Atlanta area, that's the 29 Metro County region. I think a lot of the times we get a little lost and call it the city, which is a nice placeholder, but that is not that is not really what people are describing. They're describing the Metro Atlanta region. And so one of the things that we've been going forward with is promoting so goes Metro Atlanta, or so goes Fulton County, so goes the Metro Atlanta region, and just some high-level macro stats for you. You listed the population of the county, about 1 million people. We're about 1 in 6 residents of the Metro Atlanta region. So 1 in 6 people live in Metro Atlanta, live in Fulton County, but we only represent 6% of the land area. On the jobs portion, and that's what I'm more excited to talk about, 1 in 3 workers in the Metro Atlanta region work in Fulton County, and nearly a half of all wages produced in the Metro Atlanta region come out of Fulton County. And so a lot of the times, like I said, we may say the term city. We would love to kind of get to the conversation about the Metro Atlanta region, and then more importantly orient Fulton County and its importance, and most, I think, impactfully, the amount of intensity that happens both economically and both residentially that happens in Fulton County, how that has an impact in the Metro Atlanta region. We really want to do a better job, I think, in claiming that moniker.
So let me ask you this, Samir, while you have the floor.
Yep.
Would you help people to understand exactly the function of the entity called Select Fulton?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little history. We've got a great new county manager, Dick Anderson, who's an old Bell South executive, and he came on board about 2 to 3 years ago. Board of Commissioners lobbied really aggressively to bring him on board, and he's got a good corporate background and really hit the ground running and eliminating inefficiencies. And Fulton County had a legacy of multiple economic development functions kind of spread throughout the county. There was obviously the Development Authority of Fulton County, which is the most well-known entity from Fulton County in terms of economic development, and we can talk a little bit about them later. There was an Office of Economic Development inside of the county operations and some other functions. And so what Select Fulton was, or is the bringing together of all of these entities under the one brand initiative, which we call Select Fulton. And recently we've actually added another leg to it. So we call it kind of 3 legs of economic development, which is the Development Authority of Fulton County, which is really our main business incentive tool. There is kind of the county staff, which focus on a lot of other initiatives that the Development Authority can't touch, such as T-SPLOST and others. And now the third leg of that is the workforce development, which you kind of alluded to in my intro, which is these Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which are these WIOA grants that we get from the feds in order to provide workforce development services and training for the residents of Fulton County, actually minus City of Atlanta. City of Atlanta has its own Atlanta WorkSource division, so we kind of serve the population outside of the City of Atlanta, both on the north and the south side. And so through those 3 legs, we're really trying to promote that broad topic of economic development for Fulton County, not only marketing and attracting new business, but how do we connect people in need, train them up, and connect them to employers, and then how do we service the county in partnership with our 15 great cities to deal with things like traffic and healthcare and other items that touch economic development because it's such a broad topic. And so we're about 2 years into that Select Fulton model and really gearing up, and I'm just excited about the future potential of what this organization can do for the county and the cities.
By the way, I just wanted one fact, too, that you didn't mention that I would have access to, and that is in the last 5 years, detached and attached property values have gone from a median of $242,000 to $287,000, which is an 18% increase, thanks to Samir, who's a math major over there. figure that out real quick.
I've got some other kind of top-line numbers just to run through real quickly, because we always look at residential as a proxy for impact in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at workers and property values. So there are 853,000 workers in Fulton County. If you look at Cobb County, that's 350. Gwinnett, 351. So we're more than double the amount of workers. And then most importantly, if you look at property values, there's $126 billion worth of property value in Fulton County, only 70 in Gwinnett County, 69 billion in Cobb County. So the economic impact of Fulton County is so relevant, and yet that conversation hasn't really been fleshed out. And that's what Select Fulton's looking to do.
Well, stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're going to talk a lot about South Fulton in the next segment, and ask Mike to tell us a little bit about Connect South Fulton and some of the projects that they're working on. As you know, if you've been reading the papers, there's a lot happening. It's very dynamic and exciting. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Lou Wheeland, and we're sitting here focusing on Fulton County, but even more finitely focusing on South Fulton. The show is on my website, by the way, if you missed the first segment. And in that segment, Samir did do a pretty nice profile of some of the important stats that pertain to Fulton County. And so the population of Fulton County is over 1 million, and the population of South Fulton
It's about 201,000.
201. So you're about 20% of the total county.
Right, with Atlanta, it'd be about 450,000 of the population, the remaining being North Fulton.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about Connect South Fulton, and then we can go from there and talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening down there in your area that are very exciting.
Sure, I'd love to, but from the intro, the one thing I think we need to add to your profile for both residential and commercial real estate is a South Fulton focus, because there's a lot of great things happening in those cities from real estate perspective, from the top of the South Fulton County, from East Point and Hapeville all the way down to Chattahoochee Hills and Serenbe. We have to get that South Fulton focus so the whole north side knows about all the great things happening from a residential and a commercial real estate perspective.
I agree. We don't break out North Fulton either, by the way, specifically. We just broke out the county. But that's a good idea. We should, because there is a big difference in some of the stats.
Right. I mean, for one, I was just in Serenbe having lunch last week, and they're building $1 million, $2 million, $3 million custom homes. They're also doing commercial real estate, which is getting near midtown rates down there. And that's, one of the things, before I get into what Connect South Fulton is, I think the biggest opportunity I have is really to share the story of what South Fulton is, but more importantly, what is the opportunity from an investment perspective, from a quality of life perspective. So to answer your question, Connect South Fulton, it was founded November 1 It's a public-private partnership with the member cities in South Fulton County. Simply, we're trying to create a self-sustaining ecosystem that attracts capital investment, nurtures development, stimulates growth, and hopefully enhances the quality of life for the 201,000 folks that live in the South Fulton County area.
Well, great. So,
Michael, can you, Lou, I'm going to take over the show here real quick. I'm just interested, we're in the ether on South Fulton, but I think a lot of people would be interested in what are the cities in South Fulton, because maybe that's usually what they hear of.
No, you're right, because I spoke at the South Fulton Metro Outlook. I had the same question 25 times.
Right.
Thanks for that point. So in alphabetical order, you have Chattahoochee Hills, College Park, East Point, Fairburn, Capeville, South Fulton, Palmetto, and Union City.
Okay.
So those are the 8 cities that make up the South Fulton County area.
Okay, great. So, I don't know where to start. We have so much to talk about, but when you read the Atlanta Business Chronicle last Friday, there's a brand new development going down up across from the convention center there.
The Georgia International Convention Center, correct.
320 acres, $500 million complex, new development going on there. And what? How does that impact? What do you forecast as what do you think they'll impact the area just from a macro standpoint?
Well, I think the impact of that will be really a transcendent development for Metro Atlanta. First off, we're inside the Atlanta Aerotropolis market area, and what Lou's talking about is a project that's called Airport City College Park. And Airport City College Park, as Lou said, is 300 acres, really 250 acres that will be developed. The Georgia International Convention Center, which is the second largest convention center in the state of Georgia, across Camp Creek Parkway. And you're going to have mixed Class A office, 10 hotels, restaurants, retail, residential. So you're looking at probably, in specifics, 4 million square feet of office, 1,000 keys of hospitality, 600 square feet of retail entertainment, and 1,000 units of residential in the $200,000 to $400,000 price range. Also coming with that, the City of College Park is going to leverage some transportation money, and there'll be a pedestrian bridge that connects the GICC over to downtown College Park. And then also infrastructure-wise, they're going to realign some of the transportation so you can get directly from the GICC into downtown College Park on Main Street Avenue. So if you look at that as one huge project, which, like you said, will be probably about $500 million of development, already down in that area, we've got a 9-hole golf course, we've got green space, and this is continuing what we have on the campus. For those that may not remember, last year BMW has started the construction. They'll be finishing that shortly for their regional training center, which will do 10,000 trips a year for BMW dealerships getting training. That's on one part of the campus. And then, of course, we just did the exciting groundbreaking with the Atlanta Hawks Club, where that's a $40 million project where we're going to have a 3,500-seat arena for the 12 G League games. For concerts, because it's a multi-use facility, there'll be 5,000 seats for that. And then also we've got auxiliary space to complement the nearly 400 events they do at the GICC. That's auxiliary space for that. So on that campus, we've got the GICC in the middle. We've got BMW there. We've got the Atlanta Hawks Club. We've got a Renaissance Hotel. There's a restaurant going in. And then across the street, we've got this 320-acre development, which was just announced in the Atlanta Business Chronicle last week. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to be transcendental because this really is what we're talking about with an aerotropolis, right? You have an airport as opposed to a downtown, which is the nerve center. And, of course, we know that Hartsfield Airport is the economic engine for the Southeast region, and that is the one asset that makes what we have in the South Fulton region an unfair competitive advantage because we have more undeveloped land there with potential for mixed use and other things than anywhere in the world. And then international businesses can come, like the decisions that Porsche and other companies have made, and they can get to anywhere they want to get to in the U.S., in 80% of the U.S. in a 2-hour flight, and they can go direct internationally.
So, Samir, you are kind of looking at the entire county, and you're participating and contributing to the development of South Fulton, obviously, as well. How do you see their growth and impacting the county and the city, all the developments in the South Fulton area?
Yeah, I mean, Michael really hit the nail on the head, which is the opportunity piece. If you look at City of Atlanta, it's reinventing itself. There's lots of redevelopment and filling in the holes that exist. I think a similar effort is happening on the North Fulton side of things, where the community is really built out for those communities that do want to build out. And so, Michael alluded to there's only, there's 200,000 people that live in the South Fulton arena. Again, that's not a proxy for the scope and opportunity that exists in South Fulton. If you look at a map of it, there's just so much raw land past the airport. And we always like to say there's more undeveloped land near a major metropolitan airport than anywhere in the world, which is right there near the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. And so it's really about a lot of these cities that are there. There's a lot of new cities that are there. And they're going through the rigmarole of really identifying what is going to be their development future. Right now, because of the airport and the way that South Fulton was set up, logistics is big. One of the big drivers for that is obviously e-commerce. Being able to be close into that population center is why we win a lot of distribution facilities down in the South Fulton arena. One of the ones that we worked with last year is ASOS, which is a company I'd never heard of, but my wife has absolutely heard of this company. It's a fast casual clothing company out of England, and this will be their first East Coast operations center. And when that building goes live here June or July, it'll service basically all of the NAFTA countries. They'll hit a switch in London, and all orders that come from NAFTA countries will flow from that facility. And then there's obviously the South Fulton Parkway. There's 60,000 plus developable acres along that corridor that flows in and out of cities, and so we're looking for the cities to make sure that they do appropriate partnerships and planning for that. So there's just a lot of ripe land ready to go for development that we're excited about being a part of.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with Samir Abdullahi of Select Fulton and Mike Davis of Connect South Fulton. And we're trying to give you a macro look at the county and a kind of focusing on a little bit South Fulton specifically. And one of the reasons we're doing that today especially is because so many recent developments in terms of new industry coming to South Fulton. And so, Samir, you do have the bird's eye view of the county from an industrial development standpoint and from even South Fulton. I wondered if you might give us a little benefit of your wisdom on that kind of industrial development.
Yeah, I'll give you the Donald Rumsfeld answer, where there are some known knowns and some known unknowns. Okay. So I think the known knowns, like I alluded to before, the distribution centers, e-commerce, logistics, traditionally that's being big in the South Fulton arena. And, we've talked a lot about what's happening near the airport area. We're forgetting that there's Fulton Industrial Boulevard, 44 million square feet of industrial, and a somewhat legacy industrial commercial space there on the west side, which eventually we think here will fall into the city of South Fulton, although there's conversations going on between the city of South Fulton and the city of Atlanta. But, again, that will still be in Fulton County. Fulton County is I think one of the first and still probably one of the only counties, except for one or two others, in the state of Georgia that actually has an e-commerce Freeport tax exemption. And that's been a huge boon for us in recruiting some of these e-commerce facilities. Again, they're going to come to the region because they need to be close into that population center. So it's exciting that we can win a lot of those deals. I think the stories that are starting to percolate, some of these known unknowns, is the film and entertainment business. You've got the Atlanta Metro Studios there, which is the old converted Shannon Malls that the Development Authority of Fulton County participated in. It features two of the largest purpose-built sound stages there in North America, and the tie-ins to that are pretty amazing. I'm not a comic book fan. I didn't grow up on comic books, but I know they film a lot of the Guardian of the Galaxy series there, and a lot of the the top-line actors. Again, I don't know a lot of their names, but met some of them. They actually live in Serenbe. They've invested in homes in Serenbe because they're going to be filming there so much, so being part of the community was important to them. And seeing, again, having just Atlanta Metro Studios there, being able to percolate that film industry and what that can do for filming in downtowns that have a lot of these cute niche Main Street kind of feels that are really attractive for filming is an exciting piece. The other one that I always have an uphill battle fighting against is people saying that you can't do a headquarters in South Fulton. Mm-hmm. I guess they've never heard of Porsche North America, Chick-fil-A, Delta. I mean, it exists already down there. And so I think getting past the perception, I know that's what Michael works a lot on, is getting past this perception that you can't do a headquarters in South Fulton. It's just that's a naive thing to me. Another one of these Fulton County top-line stats, we have 10, I think, of the 15 Fortune 500 headquarters in the Metro Atlanta region are located in Fulton County, which makes this one of the top 5 counties for Fortune 500 headquarters. And they're not all in the city of Atlanta, right? They're spread out, both on the north and the south side. And so looking at opportunities, again, with a lot of that raw land where you want to build your own Google campus or something like that. We've worked with a lot of companies.
Or Amazon.
Amazon-ish. I'm under NDA. But those opportunities obviously exist. And with a very clean slate and raw land, South Fulton has the opportunity to really define what it is as opposed to letting other people define what it can be. And that's what I'm excited to be partnership with Michael and his team as to what we can build and how do we create a fertile ground for the right type of controlled development there in South Fulton.
If I could add to that, I mean, what Samir said, which was very important. There's within a mile on the South Fulton Parkway is a 25-mile road which runs from East Point all the way west through the South Fulton County over Chattahoochee and Douglas County. And within a mile of either side, like you said, there's 60,000 acres of undeveloped land. One of the projects we're going to work on with the South Fulton Parkway Alliance and other stakeholders is updating the overlay district because you've got multiple municipalities. How do you have that in a controlled, smart way? How do you have consistency? So if you have a large headquarters perspective, they're not dealing with 4 different versions of permitting, and we've got a defined thing of what we want, where we want it, and how we want it. The other thing that Samir talked about, we think about Fulton Industrial. We obviously had that great win with UPS on Fulton Industrial. So the whole region, if you will, is brimming with opportunity. The last thing I'll say is this: our economic engine, ATL Next, the airport has a multi-billion-dollar capital improvement program, which is doing everything from a 5th runway, 4-star hotel, and all that, cargo city to move us up. All of that is actually helping to burgeon up all of this interest as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, another key aspect, I don't know if my producer's going to drag us off the air before we do, but we want to talk about transportation because that's a vital aspect of growth potential, not only in North Fulton, but particularly in South Fulton. So if you
and we'll tee it up for the next part of this conversation, which is there's $1 billion of public investment that's going into Fulton County right now over the next 4 to 5 years, thanks to the voters and their passage of the recent T-SPLOS. And we'll talk a little bit about the impact that's going to have on a lot of the issues that we're talking related to economic development here.
Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Lou Whelan. We're sitting here with Samir Abdullahi, the Select Fulton, and also Michael Davis at Connect South Fulton. And we'd like to just finish our conversation on the topic of transportation with Samir that we started in the last segment.
Yeah, so, we always talk about transportation and, a lot of developments either live or die because of the community's view as to the impact that it will have on road infrastructure and, most importantly, traffic. And a lot of the meetings I've been to, residents come out and speak about that. The fun fact that I'd like to talk about real quick with Fulton County, 72% of the people that work in Fulton County live outside Fulton County. 45% of the people that live in Fulton County actually work in Fulton County. So a lot of the times, and that's actually a good number for a county. Most counties, 90% of the people that live there work somewhere else. 90% of the people that work there live somewhere else. I live in DeKalb, but I work in Fulton, so I'm a part of the problem. You have a lot of people just kind of crossing over each other. And so I'd always be interested to find a way to incentivize people to work a little bit closer to where they live. But in the absence of that, one of the things that Fulton County has teed up is this $1 billion T-SPLOS that I alluded to in the last segment. And the mechanics of pulling that off are pretty startling. There were several quarterly meetings held with all the mayors of the 15 cities, led by Dick Anderson, our county manager, and our board of commissioners, in organizing, again, within partnership with the city of Atlanta, figuring out how do we get some type of transportation investment to help time lights, do some better road signage, do some better road alignments. Those little things really add up, as I said, people crossing from one jurisdiction to the other. You don't know which city you're in as you're driving along, but that matters in terms of public infrastructure. And so, now that the county, and we haven't even talked about this at all, the fact that the county is fully incorporated, basically, the county's retooling what it means to be a county and delivering county services. And one of those is we're looking to is being a collaborator across all of these different 15 cities. And so T-SPLOS has already occurred. We're excited. There's, again, $1 billion of investment happening into the ground. The other piece of that now is the Fulton County Transit Study, and we're going through a very similar process of bringing all the mayors together to figure out how do we provide transit funding for the future, and coming together and figuring out what is the good compromise on that. That's something that, in my young age, I've never seen, but more importantly, I've talked to people older than myself, I've never heard of. And so it's exciting to see Fulton County take that leadership role in bringing people together. And, a lot of those projects and opportunities will benefit not just the north side, but more importantly, I think the south side, especially as it's a fertile place and defining what it's going to be. You can get these projects off the ground and get them built for the future as opposed to, I think, other areas, which is to build for now. So T-SPLOS, I think, is really, really impactful, and then the transit study.
And we, adding one to that, obviously we mentioned South Fulton Parkway a couple of segments ago, and one of the things strategically targeted for that is bus rapid transit, and I believe you have the same thing in Sandy Springs as well. If you build it, they'll come in terms of roads. We're very excited and looking and working with MARTA. In terms of transit-oriented development, we've got 2 train stops, College Park, East Point, and certainly we've got opportunities with MARTA in terms of how do we have bus service in the activity centers where there are jobs? Because from a development perspective, developers will build if they know there's public transportation. So these are the kind of things at a 10, 20,000 foot level I'm looking at and working at is collaborating from a transportation perspective and helping to execute all the great stuff that the mayors and the voters have put in place, and the public works organizations are doing in each of the cities.
We really need to touch on briefly the Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance and the Aerotropolis CIDs. Briefly, just help people understand from just a general macro standpoint their function and scope.
Sure. I mean, first, if we think of our downtowns, what downtowns are centered on is the center and the business and job cores. And Aerotropolis in general, and Aerotropolis exist in all the major cities where there's an airport, is really using the airport as an economic engine, as a center for which you radiate and you build development. Aerotropolis Atlanta Alliance is roughly 65 square miles, 2 counties, Fulton, Clayton, 11 cities, roughly 300,000 people. and you've also got, from a transportation corridor, you've got I-285, you've got I-85 and I-75. So really the Aerotropolis Alliance is a vision. It's the municipalities working together with stakeholders and investors to coordinate and develop a corporate crescent, a cargo city, mixed-use development, residential, all in 4-star hotels, all radiating out from the airport area. You mentioned the Aerotropolis CIDs. The CIDs comes from, that's a combination of Atlanta Airport West and Atlanta Airport South combining. Together, the CIDs under the leadership of Gerald McDowell, that's about a 15-square-mile area, which is inside the Aerotropolis area. And the CIDs basically focus on 3 things. They do a great job of it: public safety, beautification, and transportation. The biggest project that's coming along in partnership with GDOT is the $8 million diverging diamond interchange, like we're familiar with on Ashford Dunwoody. Exit 2 on 285, that project will be let and start this year, and the investment they're making, that will make that a landmark DDI project in all of Atlanta.
One final question. What's your favorite business book, guys?
Is that Community Profiles?
No, your favorite business book.
Business book? Oh, okay. Well, I can't say The Art of the Deal here, can I? Just seems
I have heard of that one.
In Search of Excellence.
In Search of Excellence. Well, thank you, guys. It's great to have such smart young guys engaged in our community and making a difference. We very much appreciate your service to the community, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Great to have you guys back on the show.
Thank you, Lou.
And now stay tuned for Dr. Bill Williams, Chairman and CEO of Swanee Dental Care, our dental health expert.